Actually, it's the lead play in our offense.
Double tackle, take the defensive end if he's over him. If he's not, you drive down the first man who is inside. Pull back and tell him to take the first man outside the offensive tackle. No one shows. Go right by them and field inside. If the YN has the linebacker taken out, he cuts inside. If the YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. So look at this play. What we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here, and try to run this play in the alley.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. You can find me on Twitter at Packers_access. If you want to email the show, you can send a message to PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can text the show at 865-658-5824. I'm joined alongside my buddy Tim, live in Green Bay. We got Emilio down here in Redneckville, USA, the state of Tennessee. We're just going to hang out, talk a little Packers tonight, fellas. First of all, let's go around the horn here real quick. Tim, how you doing, buddy? You got old man winter breathing down your neck, don't you, bub?
Yeah, man. Felt that first little scratch in my throat today. Hopefully nothing serious. I think I'll be all right. But doing good, man. It's the weather definitely cracked up here, man. It's closer to winter than it is to fall, I'll tell you that.
Heck yeah. I know me and Emilio down here in Tennessee. I'm sure you agree, Emilio. Tomorrow's supposed to be 79 up here. Is it going to be in the 80s down there?
Yeah. I think it's supposed to hit 81 down here. But that's what I was thinking, brutal, Tim, because I was just outside all day today, 70 degrees, 15-mile-an-hour wind. I was working out in the sticks. I mean, it was a good time.
I mean, we're at, 38 right now. So, yeah, about half, I guess, right?
That's
half
why I'm wearing a T-shirt. Tim's got the long sleeve on.
Yeah.
All right, let's check in with the chat here. We got Josh Martin in the house. We got Zane. We got Boz, Eric Sutherland. A little bit of Sean Ryan talking here, kind of cool. Jake Shavink swinging through says, wow, the posse's alive and well 6 minutes before the stream. Pretty cool, man. They come out of the woodworks, dude, as soon as we get within the 10-minute mark. It's great, too. Good conversation. You want the real entertainment, forget the pod. Just hop in the chat about 5 minutes early. Gets out of control quick. Eric Sutherland says, I see the Rams are tanking. They signed Wentz. I like this, too. Dennis Shook said, y'all got any more of those memberships scratching the neck? Those free memberships. Of course, United Bates says good evening, and then he gives 5 memberships. So hopefully you got one there, Dennis, for sure. I like what Eric Sutherland said. He said, Dennis, I'd hook you up, but they don't take EBT, and that's the same reason I don't super chat. We always referred to EBT as Uncle Ep. That's what I was telling Emilio as we were laughing at that for sure. Let's see here. There's something else that we're going to go to the super chat here in a second, but I like what Eric Sutherland said here. He said, Dennis, just so you know, Clayton has the wheel rigged. You ain't winning nothing anyways, LOL. Listen, let me tell you something, Eric. This is the most secure wheel in U.S. history. I'm just going to leave it at that. All right, let's go to the super chat. Mr. Josh Martin, thank you for the super chat. He said, Jet fans realizing that paying Lazard, who's really a wide receiver number 5 when not with Aaron Rodgers, $13 million is a bad idea. Only if some fan base had told them not to. I wonder what fan base that would have been. Did you guys watch the game last night? Either of you?
I caught a little bit, yeah.
I watched the whole thing.
Did you? What'd you think, Emilio? What was your takeaway? I know it isn't a Jets podcast or a Chargers podcast, but we get the Chargers coming up. So yeah. What did you come away with in that game?
Honestly, the Chargers didn't look as elite as I thought they were gonna. Bosa, they made some plays. You know, it was kind of a timer thing for Zach Wilson too there. But if they kept feeding the ball to Bryce Hall, I think they would have been in better shape. What really happened was like the Jets team, they just could not get themselves. They were like 3 for 14 on third downs. So as long as we keep that up, you know, we got to be able to convert. The Chargers defense didn't seem that stout, and I think they were like the worst passing defense in the league. So we have a shot there. It's not like they're that bad or they're that good, but we just need to not play that bad, really. But man, with the Jets, Lazard, a couple of them hit him right in the hands. Like he was just a second early closing on it. Little things like that. It's either the timing's off or it's just not clicking. And it seemed like they were getting every call going on the Jets, honestly. But
Yeah, and I think Zach Wilson fumbled 3 times, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I heard somebody say that's his 3rd fumble of the night. I could hear it in the background. I'm like, well, it's the same old Jets. I ain't missing none here. So,
strip sack and everything. It was brutal.
but again,
that's where the O-line come into play. Like Billy Turner started, and they were basically leaving him on an island against Bosa. Not that like he got smoked all night, but it's why are we going? I mean, they went 5 wide, which I love. You know, we love that. But if we're going up against Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, like we got to decide who we're gonna actually block here. You know?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And again, Josh Martin, thank you so much for the super chat, buddy. They definitely overpaid for Lazard. There's no doubt about it. I like Lazard. I think he was valuable to the team, but definitely not for that kind of price tag, right? They overpaid because that was one of Rodgers' guys, and like you said, without Rodgers, he's not the same player. I don't think anybody is, without arguably one of the best. I want to read this on the ticker at the bottom real quick, though. Emilio gave his midseason review of the Buffalo Wild Wings experience. Quote, this is exactly what he said too, guys, offline. This is exactly what Emilio said. Quote, I spend too much damn money to sit in a wooden chair watching this team lose on a 30-inch TV from 20 feet away. I'm telling you, he had us crying in here.
That was brutal, man.
We got to win, man.
I know. Well, that's it. I had to switch it up. That's why I didn't show up to Buffalo Wild Wings this week, and it actually worked out. See, I was there when they beat the Saints. That was birthday weekend. It was a good deal. After that, just what did we lose? 6? We haven't won in 6 weeks, something like that.
Guys, felt like 16
month and a half. We haven't won. How's that feel? Like the taste in our mouth was just burning.
Yeah, for me too. I'm going to keep this beard until the Packers lose again. All right. So I'll probably be clean shaven here in a week, but still I thought, hey, let's try something, right? Emilio's no longer going to B-Dubs. So
I like that.
Anyway, Robert Allen in the chat said, if you're disappointed in Love, just watch Zach Wilson's Jets defense is the real deal. Yeah, they do have a solid defense, no doubt. And like we keep talking about, they're stout up front, right? It's absolutely huge in the National Football League. So what we're going to hit on tonight is we're going to kind of talk some team statistics and just take, it's almost a mid-season review, if you will. We've looked at PFF extensively. We're going to continue to do that, but some people don't like PFF, right? And they go, oh, PFF isn't everything. I got you. We're going to look at some of the team stats, all right? And the stats that I feel like are most important, you can disagree. It's totally cool. I know a lot of people put a lot of stock in like DVOA and things like that. And who am I to say that, you shouldn't, right? These are the stats that I use when I am putting action on the game. These are the things that I look at to get a good feel for each team, right? You can only play the team in front of you, first of all. That's the big thing that I like about just straightforward stats rather than, well, we adjusted it for this and adjusted it for that. If you're going to go to that extent, in my opinion, now you've got to go back to get a true read and go, okay, what did they do the last 4 games? What did they do the last 2 games? Rather than what if they played a couple cupcakes early in the year? What if they played a juggernaut early in the year, right, and got boat raced, and that's factored into the DVOA? It's just, to me, there's just too many moving parts there. But with that being said, let's talk about offense points per game, all right? So we're going to start offense, and I think the strength will be the defense. We'll talk about it here in a second. But offensive points per game, the Green Bay Packers right now sit 20th in the league at 20 points, okay? Obviously, the last 3, they're averaging 15.7 points per game, okay? So the last 3 have been down a little bit. And then on the road, they're scoring 23 points per game. In 2022, to put this into perspective, we were only scoring 1.8 points more per game in 2022 as opposed to 2023. So you can see we're right behind Chicago at 20.9, not very far, out of the top 15, really, when you're talking about, 1.7 points to be in the top 15. But that is your offensive points per game. As far as offensive points per play, this is a stat that I put a whole lot of stock in, right? This is, how many points do you score per play, and break it down, divide it out. This is what you come up with. The Packers are 16th at 0.334, okay? In the last 3, only 0.246, okay? And when you look at 2022, they were 0.352 in team points per play, so down a little bit from last year in points per play. So when you look at the points per game, you go, okay, well, they're down just a touch there, down a little bit more here. You can see kind of the stars aligning. Offensive yards per play is another stat I put a lot of stock into. Not as much as points per play, though, okay? Don't get me wrong. But yards per play, Green Bay is sitting 21st at 5 yards per play. To put that into perspective, comparatively speaking to 2022, they have 5.5 yards per play. In the last three, they're grabbing 5.2 yards per play. So with that being said, Tim, all those statistics, if you need those charts pulled back up, let me know. I'll go back to offensive points per game right here, and you just rattle them off what you need. But what sticks out to you there, man? Anything come to mind? Do you feel like that's what we're seeing on the field? Do you think those numbers are skewed? Talk to me.
No, it looks pretty accurate. It just kind of pains me to see that every other team in our division is higher up on the list than we are. But we're splitting hairs here. But hanging around that top 20 is good. Kind of middle of the road. All things considered, with what's gone on this year so far, this seems pretty accurate to me. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, for sure. Adam Block says, and I've heard this a lot this year, Adam, so you're not the only one. Scoring is down this year, is it not? Miami against the Broncos was an outlier. Yeah, okay, so let's look at that. You look at Miami, 31.7 points per game as opposed to only 23.8. Let's cross them off because, like you said, the Denver game could be a big outlier, right? Philadelphia, last year, they were scoring 29.1 points per game. This year, 28, so down just a touch, right? Down about a point per game. Dallas, last year, 26.8. This year, 27.5. Last year, San Francisco, 25.9. San Francisco, 27.3. So you see teams, teams 3 and 4 are actually scoring more points this year than they did last year. So I don't want to say that theory is bunk, but I think it's definitely being overstated too much this year. Anytime you try to make a point and say, hey, this team's doing well in this regard, they go, oh, but points are down this year. It's like, come on. And that's the thing too, you're ranking these, right? You can only rank by the current year, how your team's doing against the rest of the league. That's all that matters. To me, it doesn't matter what happened in the past, what might happen in the future, what's going on this year. So Emilio, but Adam, thank you for the comment there, buddy. I know I've heard that too, man. For me, I don't think it's as big a deal as most people are saying. But Emilio, what sticks out to you here, man? Do you feel like that's on par?
Yeah, I think that's on par. Like Tim was saying, sucks that we're below Chicago. But what really sticks out is last three, we were 15.7 points a game. That's not going to get it done. It's really not. We finally got a first half touchdown, all that stuff. So I don't think that it's out of line where the numbers are at. I think it's 100% what our team looks like. I think that we'd be happy if we were 19, in the top 20. I mean, instead of right on the outskirts. But it's all right. I'll take it for now. We're getting there. We're building blocks.
Yeah, and another thing too is we kind of feel like at least the narrative seems to be built that this last game was an outlier for us, right? Like, oh, we normally don't score. No, we scored 20 points, and that's what we're averaging on the year, right? 20 points per game, so it's pretty spot on there.
And what also hurts is the home number, like 17 points per at home. That's tough. That's tough to see, especially being at Lambeau, especially being at our home field advantage. We got to do something with that. Now that the weather's getting colder, we got to live up to it.
Absolutely. Adam Block said, yeah, I feel like I keep hearing it, but I haven't personally noticed. I just know Packers were losing for a month. Ha. Yeah. We all knew that, didn't we, buddy? We got reminded of that on the old Twitter bird every single day. My goodness. Appreciate the kind words for Jacob there. Yeah, like I said, I don't want to go into all the details, but I just lost a good buddy, and he's trying to take care of things like that, and obviously was close to his friends, family, and all that stuff. So Jacob would be good. Just trying to keep communication with him and all that good stuff. So you see him on Twitter, give him a shout out and encourage him, all that good stuff. He'll be back soon, though. I can't wait, man. Jacob's that's my boy right there.
He's working on a conspiracy, I'm sure. He's been digging back there. Been grinding it out.
That's exactly what. None of that's true. He's just back there looking for the truth. Got Carly Ray in the house. Says, "Hey, posse, what's up, Carly?" Let's see here.
Chad had me dying earlier.
What's that?
Robert Allen had me dying earlier.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He's cutting on me on the 30. He said it's a 32 at Buffalo Wild Wings, not a 30-inch. That's fair. And then Eric tells me that he's only got 2,800 people in his town, so they don't even have a Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yeah, that was us growing up back home, man. They didn't have nothing like that. You kidding me? Barely had running water. Robert Allen in the chat says power rankings for a few of the pundits have Pitt in the top 10. Oh, that's interesting. I will say this: their offense has struggled. Well, specifically, Kenny Pickett struggled. So these people that think that we're just going to get absolutely boat raced by Pittsburgh. I'm kind of like, look, if I had to put money on it, I wouldn't bet on the Packers to win, but I think it's going to be a closer game than some people think. I really do. I think we're going to be able to hold our own for sure. Let's see what else we got here. Josh Martin with the super chat says, in training camp, Love was overthrowing on deep balls. During the season, his deep balls have been underthrown. Why do you think the big change? I specifically remember this, Tim, that I don't know if you guys remember, but early in the season, I think it was still preseason, he said that the coaches said that they coached him on, you need to get more air under those balls because he was overthrowing so much. He's getting plenty of air under him. There's no doubt about that. But what do you think about that, Tim? You think there's anything to that? And did I imagine that? Do you remember them saying that?
No, that was the vibe. And I remember we talked about that, I believe, on one of the shows. And, we talked about you want to miss long, right? If you're going to miss long, don't miss short. But in order to correct that on overthrows, put a little more air under it. My other theory is what I talked about last night. I've said it several times this past month, is that he's not in rhythm and the ball's coming out late, and timing affects accuracy, especially on a deep ball. Right. So I think a lot of it's touch, but I don't think it's a big change. I think we're just kind of seeing the culmination of what that issue has always been since, even in college, he had some deep ball issues on film at Utah State. So, I don't know. I don't know if you could point to one thing. I think at this point it could be the yips, and he's just thinking too much maybe too now. And he's kind of, maybe trying to push that ball or aim that ball in there instead of just, cocking back and letting it fly. Trust yourself, trust that arm. So, he's got to just trust his placement. And I think the fine tuning of the touch on the deep throws will come. But I think really it's a timing thing that's affecting it the most right now from my perspective.
Yeah. And for me, it's definitely timing, but there's also an effect of he's doing this little hop back there, right? Rather than planting that back foot and going. And I remember Armed and Dangerous, that Twitter account. I can't remember the name of his personal coach, but the guy who owns that Twitter account actually is his personal quarterback coach. And he was talking about trying to get him to keep that back foot planted, right, instead of lifting it up. And you'll notice he does this little hop, Emilio, right? And it's kind of like when he does let it go, I agree with Tim, the timing's off. He's late on the throw, but he's also kind of throwing flat-footed because he's coming down on that little hop and trying to throw, and he's losing that momentum. Listen, I'm not a quarterback guru, but when you watch it and you see the underthrows, you definitely see that. If you watch the one overthrow that he had, maybe not the only overthrow, it might have been the free play to Jaden Reed, right? The free play to Jaden Reed last week, not the Rams game, but the week before, the Vikings. You seen he planted and he turned that thing loose. Now he overthrew Jaden by like 7 yards, right? But that's what I'm seeing mechanically. Do you agree with that, Emilio? And Josh Martin, thank you so much for the super chat, bud.
Yeah, and to add to that, going back in the season, he was able to hit some deep balls. When I was in that Atlanta game, in that first play, that first trick play to Wicks, I think it was, he overthrew that one. It was long. Wicks got tackled, but it was long. I honestly, I think he's thinking too much. He's not playing free. He's not just letting it hum. He's thinking, he's trying to analyze it way too much in game. And I think he needs to kind of just play a little bit more free. And this was his best game of his career, right? For playing all four quarters and coming out and showing. It was a great step in the right direction, but I think he just needs to let it fly. Like, he just needs to kind of go back to, think a little less. And that's why I think that 2 minute and the quick 4 minute works for him. Is there's a lot less thinking, and it just bing, bang, boom, who's open, throw it. If not, let's get out and start running. I really think he needs to start using his legs just a little bit more. And then we can reel him back into the pocket if need be. But,
he throws a pretty ball on the run, especially running to his left, better than most quarterbacks, right? That's definitely his strength, but just something about that little hop back there that I don't know. And I think it was Mark Tauser that said he noticed it too. So it was like, when former players start mentioning it, it's kind of like it might have been Mike Watt. It was one of the former offensive linemen, so they kind of picked up on it. Dr. Mikrob in the chat said, "I blame Love's footwork drop back. Probably calming camp as opposed to games. Shoot, wouldn't we all be right?
Yeah.
I mean, my goodness."
Yeah. Well, that'll be if he makes it through the year, that'll be an entire offseason thing. They're going to hammer on one thing, and if he does end up playing well and gets through the offseason and he's our quarterback next year, if his footwork is the problem this whole year, that will get 100% of the attention of his entire crew that's working with him.
Yeah, definitely. So Turtles in the chat says putting air on the ball is situational. In my opinion, you got to sometimes just bullet that in before the safety comes in. Absolutely. You seen a whole shot last week against the Vikings that he missed. We just put too much air under it, right? And then you seen the whole shot on the opposite side late in the fourth quarter to Christian Watson on the right sideline, and he overthrew him, right? So, yeah, just tough, man. Kind of barely missing on some of those, but that's the stuff that when we say that's an NFL throw, every NFL quarterback needs to be able to make those throws, right? Nose down. Aaron used to talk about it all the time, throwing the ball nose down. That thing will come in there where it's literally coming in angled down, but still moving forward, just so we can kind of get over top of that cloud and underneath the safety. United Bates, thank you so much for the super chat, buddy. We appreciate you. Said Miami's last in the NFL for I guess it's FGI attempts. Anybody have any idea what that means? FGI? If you could specify for us, United Bates, I'm not sure what you mean by, unless you're saying field goal attempts, maybe it could be. Bears, Lions, and Pack tied for second to last. Obviously, Miami in last for different reasons than us. Getting into range more often, okay, may help us in the W category. So I think he is talking about field goal attempts. That's interesting. Last in the NFL for field goal attempts, I think is what he's saying. So, yeah, we haven't had very many field goal attempts, have we, guys? I mean, when you think about it, Tim, am I thinking wrong? It seems like we've only had 8 maybe?
No, when you keep getting penalized on 3rd and 4th down and backing yourself up, that tends to happen even when you got a kid who can hit from 60 plus. There have been numerous times that we've seen that the past 6 to 7 weeks here, realistically, where we're knocking on the door where we can come away with at least 3 and we're getting none because we end up punting. So I agree. I think Bates has a good point. If we get ourselves into range a little more often and we can get those, and he's knocking these kicks through with regularity and he's being consistent. He's had a couple misses here recently. But yeah, you're talking 3, 6, 9 extra points per game on the leg of your rookie kicker. That's going to help us. Yeah. I'm like I said, I'm not a sports bettor. I don't care about point spreads. I don't care how much we win by. I care that we win. And we all know every point counts, man. And, sometimes you got to take the points. Well, you can't take them if you're not in range. So I think Bates is spot on with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and how many games too, Emilio, that we lost this year by 2 points or less, right? I mean, it was.
Well, that's it, Clayton. That's it, Clayton. Because half the time, we'll get to the 35. Matt's like, let's run out there and try to do a fake count. All right, let's just take the delay game and then we'll punt it in. It's like, dude, what are we doing?
Right?
Can we not just run the field goal out and just let them kick it? Yeah. Honestly, the rookie needs more. If all the rookies are getting these reps, why can't Anders Carlson? I mean, we got Daniel Whelan enough reps for 2 years already. Punting the ball, can we not get a couple of field goal snaps in here?
I think when it comes to that, Clayton brought this up once before, and it really struck a chord. It's true. They evaluate the kicking game by game. So any given Sunday there could be a reason why 58-yarder, we're not going to send him out for it, but then next week we might send him out for the 58-yarder. It all depends on how he's feeling. How the wind's blowing. If there's wind, he was kicking a wet ball in a wet field on Sunday. So,
right.
That's a great point. Yeah.
It's just, and that's not an excuse. You still got to knock those down. You're expected to kick in all conditions at this level. So I think with, time and experience, he'll iron that out.
That's it. That's exactly it. You know why, Clayton? You know why? Because you know what he's got to do?
What's he got to do, man? Talk to me.
What he's really got to do is when he steps into the kick and kicks through it.
Mm-hmm. And I'll kick the bloody piss out of it.
Sometimes you just got to kick the bloody piss
Thank
out of
you.
them.
That's it.
That
You
wasn't
know
in the
what?
show.
Though? There's something going on the left side of that line on a couple of these field goals,
Oh yeah,
and it's a little too close for comfort, if you know what I'm saying.
and
And
Carly Ray pointed it out on Twitter. Tim,
yeah,
did you see that?
spot on, spot on. And that, I don't care who you are, unless you're like, veteran level experienced kicker, that affects you, man.
Right.
I know it's affecting him, especially coming from that side as a right-footed kicker. So, yeah, man, hopefully they can shore that up. Special teams unit on these field goals has got to tighten up for sure.
I'm trying not to laugh over here, but every show we go off on a little side trail, not expect. Who the hell thought we would be talking about field goal kicking? Like, that's the
Hey, Bates got his super chat worth for sure.
Absolutely. But you know what? It's a great point. And you
Right.
know what he said about Miami's last in the NFL in field goal attempts. I heard Michael Lombardi talking earlier today on their pod, the GM Shuffle, and he said a lot of people are overlooking something right now. Miami's offense has cooled down and their defense is starting to catch up, meaning Vic Fangio starting to have his effect on that defense, right? But also their points scored starting to go down. And it just hit me while you were talking about it. And because United Bates mentioned Miami in the field goal attempts, you look at the top, they're leading in points per game at 31.7. Look at their last three.
Right.
20.7. Look at their last one, 14. So they're trending down pretty heavy there. Now at home, 43.5. It's obvious we could tell where the Denver game was played, right? But anyway, good stuff, United Bates. Thank you so much for the super chat, buddy. We appreciate it. Carly Ray in the chat said she noticed a little hop there with Jordan too. Like I said, there were several people mentioning it. It definitely caught my eye. And again, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm a quarterback guru, and as Garrison pointed out here in the chat, Garrison Anderson, good to see you in here, buddy, said Steve Calhoun is his personal quarterback coach. So that's exactly right. That was the name I was trying to remember. So
because each quarterback has their own thing. Sometimes they'll tap it twice. Sometimes they'll, double shake the ball, whatever their little twitch is. When I play the cross, like you'd catch the ball and like just do like a quick little cradle. Like it's just like a little knee-jerk reaction that you kind of just do. And if it's a habit that's a problem, then they need to work that out of him. If he can live with that and still make the throws, then we're all right. But as of right now, that hop ain't working.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Same thing with release and delivery too.
Everything.
Peyton Manning that ball would just stay back here from the whole time.
Aaron started like that too. Remember, he would cradle it high. That was at Tefford or whatever.
And they got him away from that, and then he started throwing laser beams. So,
very true.
But it worked for Peyton Manning. So what works for one doesn't work for all. It's never a one size fits all approach.
Got that right.
But Jordan, he's going to come along. I think we'll see improvement. I really do. We saw a little bit on Sunday. Hopefully, we keep trending in this direction.
Yeah,
I just want to see him hit on one of those deep ones, man. Mm-hmm. Just one time, man. Just put it
in stride. Right?
Yeah, throw that ball to that back pylon and let our guys go get it, man. Instead of having to turn around and play cornerback,
Especially with Christian Watson out there, man. Try to overthrow him. Try to,
Yeah.
He did on the whole shot. That's a little bit different. I'm talking 45, 50 yards down the field. Load that thing up and turn it loose. Mike Hebring, thank you for the super chat, buddy. He said, who knew 12 was only worth 1.8 points per game? He always comes in with the hottest takes. I love it. Mike, are we forgetting something? Do you want to add the detail in there? Or do you want me to mention it? Because he was playing with the broken thumb too. But anyway, for what it's worth. But hey, it is kind of I don't know if it's encouraging or not that there's only a 1.8 point difference between, you know what I mean? The fact that he had a broken thumb. Maybe I put too much into that, but
no, I don't think you do at all. I think it's important that you mention that. A broken thumb on your throwing hand. Right. Look at Stafford. Stafford didn't even have a tear or a break. Yep. And they just took another quarterback. Like they're babying him through this to see if he can go. I mean, think about gripping a ball.
Mm-hmm.
Brett played with a bad thumb, bad fingers. Aaron has done it. That's what separates good from great, right? The great ones find a way to make it work. I mean, we've all heard Ronnie Lott taking off a piece of his finger just to keep playing, so, whatever it takes. So, I mean, and that's not a knock on Stafford at all. I mean, these medical professionals know what they're looking at. There's a reason that he didn't play against us. and there's a reason they just grabbed another quarterback. That's serious that's what you do. You throw the ball.
Right.
I could see if he broke his thumb on his non-throwing hand and people wanted to talk a little bit,
That's why Fields isn't playing right now, right? Because he can't grip a ball. You need a thumb to grip a ball.
Same thing. Yeah.
That's your one point of contact on the back side of the ball. Literally your one point of contact on the other side of the ball. You have 4 on the other side.
And all the tape and, trying to put a brace or something, a splint or whatever, that ain't going to help much. If anything, it's going to make it worse. You saw Aaron gritting out last year with what looked like 2 pieces of tape in a triangle around his thumb because he probably didn't want a lot on there. And,
and how awkward that is too. Cause watching that game last night, Kenny Pickett's got that, his middle finger, his index finger. The whole thing's he's like running around with his hand up like this, like just trying not to get it hit while he's in the pocket. It's like, you are, that's brutal, but he's
have fun dealing with Rashawn on Sunday.
Yeah. No doubt about it. But Mike, thank you so much for the super chat, buddy. Again, it's important. It's important to mention what you said there, man. I don't agree that 12 was only worth 1.8 points, but when you talk about it comparatively speaking, what's sad too is we're scoring less points this year, and he counted for over 40 million against our cap. So it's just a bad look on Goody there. There's no 2 ways about it. But anyway, we're gonna keep it positive, man. We're coming off a win. You kidding me? Let's see here. Garrison in the chat says a lot about NFL 4th down tendencies. Now, if we could avoid, quote, offsides penalties, man, I'm still encouraged by those quarterback sneaks. When I went back and watched them again, wasn't even close, dude. They had it. They were getting a yard and a half on those QB sneaks. It's exciting to know that works for us if we can just keep and I did learn this. Okay. You guys may have already known. Again, I don't claim to know everything. Believe me, I'm probably wrong way more often than I am right. But, we talk about the neutral zone. The entire length of the football is the neutral zone, okay? So what I'm saying is if on the offensive side of the ball, your center's hands here, right? Well, the rest of the offensive line, their heads, everything, hands, everything has to be behind the ball completely, right? So it's not the actual edge of the line of scrimmage. So good chance he was offsides. However, like people pointed out, the only reason it got called is point of emphasis. They weren't the only team doing that across the league. So now you'll see others start to follow suit there. But let's change gears here. Let's get to the defense. Y'all good with that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So on the defensive side of the ball, same type of statistics. All right. We're going to go defense, points per game. All right. And Emilio, if you have to hop off, dude, totally understand. I know you got stuff going on. Defense points per game. By the way, this is Emilio's anniversary, and he's on here talking ball with us. I'd be damned if I'm going to get blamed for splitting up his relationship. So
it'll be his last anniversary.
Yeah,
exactly. He laid out the game plan. He got a good game plan.
You're going to come to us live from the couch tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. For those of you who don't know, I'm just going to go ahead and spill the beans. Emilio is part Mexican, part Italian. And he was laying out this game plan he had when we were offline. He was going, let me tell you, Clay, I got this set up. We're ready to go. Bada bing, bada boom, the whole 9 yards, man. It was cracking me up. I felt like on an episode of The Sopranos over here. What? Oh, man. I thought you were in Tennessee, big dog. All right. Defense, points per game. Looky here. Ooh. Mr. Joe Barry.
Somebody's in the top 10.
That was so good, Tim. It sounded just like Happy Gilmore. That was money, man. Absolute money. All right. Number 10, Green Bay, 19.9 points per game. Some of you are going, well, that's just because of the Rams game. In the last 3 games, 15.3 points per game, okay, is all they're allowing. And then let's go to the home and away. At home, only allowing 19.5 points per game. To put that into perspective, that would slide them up into, I don't know for sure where they'd rank. Most likely that would put them in the around the 8 spot at home. And then away, 20.3 points per game. Pretty exciting stuff. Now, let's move down to opponents' points per play, because who knows, man? Maybe something specifically happened that benefited them, whatever, that points per game is a little skewed. Points per play, they're 8th in the league at 0.303. Let me hop back real quick. Points per game, comparatively speaking, to last year, 21.8 points is what they were giving up last year. This year, only 19.9. So you see an improvement there. Team opponent points per play, they are 8th at 0.303. Last year, 0.374. Another significant improvement there. And then defensive yards per play, yards allowed per play, 4.9. Last year, they were 5.8. So somebody put some respect on Joe Barry and this defense's name. Immediately, people say, well, who they played? Again, you can only play the team in front of you. All right. Let me do this
on all of those lists. I like that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's
no divisional rivals anywhere near us on those lists either. So little I like that.
What I like is if you watch that Monday night game last night and you watch that Jets defense and you're telling me we're one behind them, like they balled out yesterday. Like their front four is unreal. Their linebackers play well. Their secondary is elite. Like it is. If our defense is one off from that, I'm hyped. It just doesn't visually come off like that. That's the thing. Is when we're watching the game on Sunday, we visually don't see a Jets defense. We don't see they're getting pressure with 4. We're having a little bit more trouble, I would say, unless we can look into SIS on that. Maybe four-man pressure, but it's that gets me excited that we're right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And still missing people, Tim. Like, look at the people that we're missing week in and week out. Jair, I think we would all feel comfortable saying this is the first week Jair's been healthy. Rashawn Gary had been on a pitch count, like a snap count all year long pretty much. Now he's back to full strength in that regard, right? Look at Quay Walker missed the game. Before Quay Walker missed that game, look at how many games Devondre Campbell missed. Joe Barry has patched this thing together. I'm telling you, man, I think by the end of the year, we're going to still be somewhere around that top 10, even after playing some of these tough teams. I don't know, man. I've got a good feeling about it because when I watch the tape, I don't find myself going, oh, boy, we're going to get chewed up by somebody. I find myself going, if he doesn't blow that coverage, if he doesn't miss that tackle, they miss out on 7 points, and we're winning this ball game. Like, that's the way it always seems to me, Tim. I don't know, dude. Maybe I'm being too optimistic. I know Zane Strong said Joe Barry the real MVP, and then number one Packer fan said fire Joe Barry anyway. LOL.
Yeah, that's the inside joke, right? Fire him anyway, because I'll go ahead and say it. I mean, the people that want to fire Joe Barry they simply don't understand this defense and what this defense's objectives are. You can happily go back on Packers Total Access and check out the breakdowns that Clayton has done hundreds of times on what we're trying to do defensively. And once you have a better understanding of that and you see these numbers and you see the execution out there, yeah, you have to, man. You got to tip your hat to Joe Barry, because we haven't had a consistent lineup defensively, and it's been a lot of plug and play with veterans and with first and second year players. And, to his credit, I think he's worked with the staff to put the best lineup out there that we possibly can every week, even with late scratches or, the freak injuries that happen. Quay Walker with the groin injury was a little unexpected. And I know at least it threw me for a loop, him popping up and missing the game. But look at Zay McDuffie, step up. And, Devondre Campbell, man, what can we say? That's what he's here to do, man. Be that veteran presence in the middle, green dot when we need you. Even if we don't, you can be out there with Quay, and we know that you're 100% responsible for your assignment, and probably a lot of other guys too. He's good at making sure guys are in their proper alignment and things pre-snap. So having guys, like Devondre Campbell obviously helps. But yeah, man, once I understood the quarters concepts and I understood, what the mission is for this type of a defense, I immediately just took a step back from all this Joe Barry hate and nonsense. And you understand that there is a method to the madness. As a matter of fact, the tipped ball that Jair had for the Anthony Johnson Jr. interception was Jair leaving his quarter. Yeah, and going and making a play. But if you watch, he did it in a way where he knew he wasn't going to create a liability. Right. He knew where that receiver was going, that he was leaving, and he knew there was help to that part of the field. Yep. And so he went to make a play on the ball, and that's what playmakers do, right? And there's plenty of room for playmakers in this type of a defense. So, put some spec on that name, man, when you talk about my defensive coordinator, all right? Put some spec on it.
The cool part of that play, if you guys haven't got a chance to go check it out on Chalk Talk, I broke it down. They were in a half quarter, okay, which basically they're showing quarters with 2 on the shelf. But what it essentially was on Jair's side was a cover 2. So Jair was kind of playing that cloud zone, right? Playing a curl cloud zone type underneath. And he just made the decision, I'm gonna go after this, right? And like Tim said, there was no risk involved there because everything was going to stay in front of him, right? And of course, you had as safety, you had Anthony Johnson Jr. playing half. What I mean by half quarter, you literally had Jair playing underneath kind of that curl zone, right? 5 to 7 yard zone. Probably had flat responsibility, but chose to ignore it to go back on that little corner route and get the hand on the ball and tip it. Anthony Johnson Jr. was responsible for deep half on the other side of the field, opposite the play. It's probably the most electric play we've seen on Sunday, right on defense, right?
Yep.
My favorite part of that play was on the opposite side of the field in what happened between Carrington Valentine and Jonathan Owens. If you guys get a chance, go check it out. Last second, Carrington realizes they've only got 1 receiver over there, 1 tight end. He looks at Jonathan Owens, gives him a little signal. And I think what he told Jonathan Owens is, if this number 1, talking about the 1 receiver on his side, number 1, if he goes deep, I'll carry him deep. You bite aggressive on anything underneath. So he bracketed him off. It was Puka Nacua. He's covering deep. It allowed Jonathan Owens with that communication to bite down when Puka ran the in route. And you can see as soon as Jonathan Owens kind of doesn't completely commit to the quarters coverage, so it's almost like he's playing a spinner look with Carrington Valentine playing the deep side. It really wouldn't have been a deep half. It should have been a deep quarter, but just that little adjustment. You can see Rippon look that way. You can see the stripe on his helmet, and then he immediately comes back to the left. When he comes left, Jair's playing soft. By the time he turns it loose, Jair's reading him like a book, breaks on it, tips it, picked off by Anthony Johnson Jr. That play call by Joe Barry, if I remember correctly, that might have been the TT stunt too. I'm not 100% sure. There was one play that ran a TT. But anyway, just giving them the freedom. How many times did we hear last year that everybody's blaming Joe Barry for how far they're playing off the ball, right? And then Jair came out and said, no, they're trying to get me to play closer. But, basically they have the freedom to line up where they want to line up. We've heard that over and over and over. That's what they're talking about.
We don't hear the same criticism when we're man press and getting roasted over the top, though, which is crazy to me.
It's just fire Joe Barry.
Yep.
That's all you hear, fire Joe Barry. But it's it's important to hit on the details. And
I think you're right on that, Clayton. I think this must be like lockdown, or I got him, padlock. I'm with this man. I'm going to stay with my guy, giving you that freedom. And there's pre-snap communication right there. You're absolutely right, because Jo being able to do that is what took away the middle of the field on that play, basically forcing him to have to go that way.
Seeing a 7th round pick do that, man.
Right.
Right.
Hey.
Carrington Valentine is like the Jaden Reed of the defense. Like, he's not playing like a rookie, like a typical rookie.
Yeah. That's it. I was listening to another pod earlier today, and I'm pretty sure it was Valentine, but they were saying that when he was on the sideline and they were calling the defensive plays, he still walked through what his process would be each time to get him through to that, so that when he stepped out on the field, he knew what was going on. He hammered it. He played like more of a vet than a 7th round pick, and the kid's got a chip on his shoulder. When you got everybody in front of you that gets picked before you're out there to show him who's up. Like Puka Nacua, who else got picked before him? How's he playing? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yep, absolutely. And with Carrington, again, we got asked on the pod either yesterday or the day before, how did Carrington drop to the 7th round? Because he was playing this style of defense in college. And when you have a corner that's not following the number 1 receiver, they don't get a whole lot of shine, right? Mm-hmm. So you've really got to show up and show out at the combine to get yourself more notice, because it may have been a situation where they just didn't throw to his side of the field because they were in quarters coverage, right? The same reason that the interceptions have gone down for Green Bay, because these quarterbacks aren't taking as many shots down the field because we're trying to limit the explosive plays and we're showing 2 on the shelf consistently. So that's see you, buddy. Appreciate you, Emilio. He gonna go in there and try to save that relationship real quick, Tim. And I don't blame him one bit. Now we can talk bad about him. Carly Ray said, "I'm Mexican at heart, Emilio. Can you say that? Can you speak with a Spanish accent, Tim, or no?
Not with any accuracy, no.
All right.
So,
She says, I'm Mexican at heart, Emilio. Americana de sangre, Mexicana de corazon, maybe?
Corazon.
Well, listen, we sound like a couple white trashes out here.
Yeah, a couple idiots right now. Idiot.
Let's see, Garrison in the chat said Slayton, Brooks, White, and Wooden stepped up big when Kenny went out. Slayton's pressure on the botch snap, fumble was big. You know, I didn't even call that out, Garrison, on the botch snap. I keyed in on Jonathan Owens stripping the ball from Rippin when he got it back, right? Stripping from Rippin. I don't mean to rhyme. I do it all the time. But and also Devondre Campbell being, hustling on the play and recovering the fumble. But that's awesome that Slayton was back there too, man. That's great for sure. I really like Slayton. I think he's a solid defensive lineman. He's really coming to his own. So Josh Martin says Joe Barry is the Packers MVP. Yeah, I don't want to overstate it, but I'm just saying, I'm not even saying, hey, let's give him a bunch of credit. I'm just saying, can we just stop with all the slander for a second? Like, he's got this defense in position. The Jets D is legit. It's what Dr. Meecrop said. Absolutely. Carly pointed this out earlier, Tim. She's climbed into the top 5 in her fantasy league.
Wow. Nice.
I'm actually good at it. No, it does. It does. Because you were in the tank, right? You were in the tank earlier and crawled out of it. That's freaking awesome for sure. Hopefully my buddy Jay's giving you some advice. I don't know. He might be the reason you were in the tank for a little bit. You probably just stopped listening to him, but he loves I turned her on to a buddy of mine that's who I would go to for fantasy information for sure. But
nice.
I'm not a big fantasy football guy. I like this right here. So we could talk about Emilio when he's out of here. Dennis Shook says Emilio's taking his wife to the finest Buffalo Wild Wings in Tri-County area. Laughing emoji.
Oh man,
in here, man, absolutely ruthless. Let's do this. Let's hit on a little Josh Myers, and we'll get out of here. Tim, your throat holding up, okay, bro?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. What else can we say about Josh, right?
That wasn't convincing though, Tim. I'm doing okay. All right, so been a lot of talk about Josh Myers. Been getting a lot of emails, a lot of messages, all that. Obviously, you go on Twitter; it's a hot button topic. Some people seem to think he's playing great. Others think he's a horrible center. Some people point out he's a good pass blocker. He's a horrible run blocker. Me, it's a position that's so important. You want that to be one of the stable points of your offense, right? And I feel like it's one of the several reasons that the team has struggled early in the year. Jordan Love's a big reason why they struggle early in the year. Love that game he put together against the Rams. I want to see that continue to carry over. But when it comes to Josh Myers, when you look it up on PFF, what's crazy, Tim, it goes hand in hand with these numbers I'm about to show y'all. And the reason I didn't go to PFF is because obviously we've beat it like a dead horse. I think he's 12th in run blocking grade amongst centers in PFF with the minimum snap requirements. And he's something like in the 30s, 35 or 36 in pass, he's 12th in pass blocking, like 30 to 35 range in run blocking, right? And that's what we've seen all year long. That's why his overall grade is so low. Well, we went to SIS, okay, and what we pulled up was blown block percentage, okay? So we did a minimum of 50 snaps so we could filter out some of the stuff that's just going to skew the numbers a little bit, right? We want to get a realistic look at this. So what we did was all snaps, every single snap, both pass blocking and run blocking, okay? Blown block percentage. This is what we've got. Josh Myers comes in 16th in blown block percentage. Basically, of all pass blocking and run blocking combined, he blows 1.9% of his blocks, okay? 16th in the league. When you go to blown block percentage in pass blocking, he's 11th, okay? So he's borderline top 10 pass blocking center, all right? And then when you go to run blocking, this is the bad one. 33rd, he has a 3.4% blown run blocking statistic amongst all centers. That puts him, like I said, in the 33rd spot. So to me, those numbers are spot on. Again, going back to every snap right here, he's right there around the 16 mark. Now, the question is, do you think that's good enough, right? Some people say, oh, well, that's starting caliber. Overall, technically, yes. You're starting to creep into the bottom half of the league, though, of starters, right? But on top of that, Tim, the big thing for me is it's such an important position, right? That you need a top 10 center. I would love to have a top 5 center. I don't think anybody wouldn't love to have that. But to just poo-poo it and say, oh, it's not a big deal, he's a good pass blocker, is just mind-boggling to me. Because like we pointed out, 33rd, that means he's not even starting caliber center at run blocking, according to how many blocks he has blown this year. And on top of that, it's a second-round pick, Tim. So what do you think about Josh Myers? What's your take? I'm going to go comb through the chat, see if anybody's got any comments on Myers. Maybe I'm being too harsh. But what do you think, Tim?
I don't think you're being harsh at all. And Josh is one of those guys I'm not sure why he wasn't moved to guard or something. Or I don't know quite how he ended up being our starting center through all of this. And I think we'd have to get Jake Shavink's take on this, because I believe Jake has said before that he's in agreement with me when I say we need to take O-line in the first round in this draft if we can. I wonder what type of centers we're seeing in this draft, or guards or tackles that can be converted to centers in this draft. I don't know. Is this something that we can fix in the draft? Because I think long-term plan, it can't possibly be to just stick with the underwhelming performances that we're getting.
Right.
And I think it's fair. I think it's fair to drag Josh Myers a little bit, but it's also fair to keep it real. And, there are some things that he does consistently well. And, he's not a complete dumpster fire, but there's better play at that position across the board on a lot of these teams that are competing in this league. And center is a piece that we need to step up. Like you said, it's one of the most important besides left tackle and quarterback, right, on an offense. So yeah, man, I don't know. We'll get Jake's take on that though for sure. I wonder what's going on with the centers in the 2024 draft.
Definitely. Dennis Shook in the chat says the fact of the matter is you drafted Josh over Creed Humphreys, and the people that defend Josh Myers, they hate hearing that, but it's a fact. It's the truth. You had a higher draft grade on Josh Myers than you did Creed Humphrey. Creed Humphrey is a better center. There's no two ways about it. Some people like to talk about how Creed's overrated. I don't see it personally. I look at the statistics, look at the numbers. Is he the best center in the game? No. But Josh Myers has been significantly worse than Creed Humphrey since day one and continues to be. Mike Wall right here, Robert Allen says, Mike Wall says, average NFL center, we're used to elite center play. It's exactly what he told me when we had him on the show. He said, listen, Clayton, I never hear, but listen, Clayton, Josh Myers is an average NFL offensive lineman. That's what he said. And now the question is, the former 11-year vet in the NFL, I know some people don't like to hear that. They think just because you played don't mean you know football. Okay, you keep telling yourself that. But when someone who played 11 years at offensive line, more specifically interior offensive line in the NFL, says that someone is average, I can't imagine anyone in here would be okay with us spending a second-round pick on an average player in their third year, right? So where does the bias lie? Look, I hope he turns it around. Just like I said about Savage the last 2 years, and here we are.
Yeah,
right?
and how long are we going to wait for that to happen, right?
As long as it takes to not be able to criticize Brian Gutekunst. That's what it comes down to, Tim. Listen, I would much rather be talking about how great Brian Gutekunst is, right? And I don't think he's a bad GM. I don't. But there's some people that think he's the worst GM, and there's others that you can comb through their timeline and you will never find one single criticism of Brian Gutekunst. You won't. And that's the problem, the biggest thing. Everybody gets dug in on their argument, and then they're going to run victory laps when they get one little bitty, piece of information that suggests they're right and other people are wrong. I just want the Packers to be good. I'm not going to bury my head in the sand and pretend like a weakness is a strength just because I made a stupid comment in the past and my ego is so out of whack that I don't want to admit that I was wrong. I've said it 1,000 times. I'm married. I'm wrong all the time. I promise you. Clint in the chat says, yeah, Myers will always be compared to Humphrey. It's the new Kevin King versus Watt. Unfortunate, but Myers hasn't lived up to the pick value. I think that's a fair statement there. Let's see what else we got. Deadfish asks, where was Creed Humphrey? And I think someone actually mentioned it. Yeah, right here. Clint says literally the next pick, and he was. So they
Yeah,
obvious that the Chiefs had a higher grade on Creed Humphrey than they did Josh Myers. It's very seldom you'll have the same grade on them. But what was that, Tim?
you see Carly Ray in the chat.
Mm-mm.
I've never seen a partial dumpster fire. Oh man,
That'll be the comment of the night, right
she
there.
got me. She got me. That's true.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be somewhat positive. I don't want to rag on Josh too much, especially since I wouldn't last 41 seconds trying to play center in the NFL. So, but yeah, I guess Carly's right. There's no such thing as a partial dumpster fire.
It's a good point. It's definitely a good point. Let's see what else we got here. Let's see what Mike Hebring has to say about this topic. Your center needs to be a top run blocker. Your guards need to be good run and good pass blockers. Your tackles need to be good pass blockers. I think that's pretty well said. I think that's the ideal scenario, Mike, for sure. You want your edge to be well protected, but at the same time, if you ask any quarterback, and I completely agree with you, Mike, but if you ask any quarterback, and you say, okay, which pressure is worse? Pressure from the A and B gap or pressure off the edge? They'll say the A and B gap all day long, right? It's not to say that you're going to go try to get, interior offensive linemen that are just good at pass blocking, although that's what the Packers have done. It's kind of like what Jake Shavink was saying down here in the chat. He chimed in and said, Creed wasn't necessarily a better fit. That's easy to forget. I think that's a fair point because these coaching staffs, they look for people that are going to fit what it is they're trying to do, right? The reason Josh Myers was so valuable, in my opinion, I think that Matt LaFleur went in saying, all right, we're going to run a lot of duo. We want someone who is quick enough, who is physically gifted enough to get to the second level on these double doubles. And he definitely fit the mold as far as the combine numbers, all those things. It's just, what did we miss that he's such a bad run blocker? Because he is a horrible run blocker. There's no two ways about it. And again, I think with what you're saying here too, Jake, not necessarily a better fit. It's easy to forget. Mike Wall said something when I talked to him about this very thing. Mike said, he said, listen, Clayton, because we were talking about simplifying the offense, or the run game, which, by the way, has happened. And I can't tell you how exciting. That's not to sit here and go, we told you so. It's just exciting when you look at the tape, you identify the problem, you run it by a former NFL player. They go, that's what I'm seeing. And then the team does it, and you start to see a little bit of success. It's cool when the light bulb comes on and you kind of you look back and go, hey, I'm not as stupid as I thought I was. All right, we're catching on here a little bit. But what he said was, he said, listen, Clayton, great offensive lines can do anything. This isn't a great offensive line, right? So the question is, let me ask you this, Jake. What does Myers do, in your opinion, that was a better fit than what Creed did? If you don't care, if you're still in here, if you want to respond to that, I'd like to just get your take on it, not to create an arguing point. Just want to get your take on that because for me, it's a lot more simplistic than that, And again, I'm not an offensive line coach. I don't scout players. Jake's way more of a scout than I am. I'm more of an information nerd and watching the tape and just trying to understand schematics and personnel and all that stuff. But I'd be eager to see what your answer there. Again, Jake, it's just real simple. What do you think Creed wasn't a fit for with the Packers at the time that they drafted him? Because we would all agree this offense changes. Like Carly mentioned earlier in the chat, the NFL cyclical, Tim. I mean, things come and go all the time, right? And whatever's working, you got to change things up. You got to go back to where you started at the first of the year because now teams have caught on. They're starting to watch the tape, all that stuff. Cheesehead Murph said, "Is his college career his ceiling?" There's a lot of people
That's a great point.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that applies to. I got a good friend of mine. His name's Vince. I won't give his last name. He wasn't drafted, but he was signed by the Patriots as an undrafted free agent, came out of a small school, and he played there for 1 year. And then when Scott Pioli went to Kansas City, he took Vince with him. And, Vince would be the first one to tell you, like, that was his ceiling. His ceiling was college. And he was just an athletic freak. He's one of those guys, Tim. He's 6'5", maybe 6'6". I mean, absolutely huge. He was slim. He was an edge rusher. Could play kind of hybrid linebacker, which Belichick absolutely loved. But I think that's a good point there, Cheesehead Murph. That's a good question for sure. I think the results would suggest that, don't you, Tim?
Yeah, and it's funny. Shout out to Murph, man. That's spot on because I was thinking when you were just talking about what Jake had said. It's like, well, we know why Myers was drafted. why ultimately why that decision was made. But now we're looking at a couple seasons of tape in the NFL, and it probably doesn't look much like his college film.
Right.
Maybe he's just one of these guys that were late to the party, realizing that maybe he's not fully transitioned over to the NFL level with the speed and the things that he needs to do. But you can't play center on a high caliber offense and not be able to run block. It's just it's inexcusable. I mean, you can't play offensive line and not run block, man. That should be your bread and butter, man. I mean, that's what those guys get up, eat their breakfast ready to do, is go out there and shove somebody. It's like, I don't know.
That's something else Mike said too on the broadcast one day with me. And Dennis, thank you for the donation, buddy. We appreciate you, man. What Mike said was, Clayton, listen, we're in the business of moving bodies. That's the goal, is to move bodies. You want to get on a run blocking play. You want to move bodies off the ball. This offensive line's not moving bodies off the ball. I will say this, several times in the chat, people have mentioned Sean Ryan. There's a couple plays Sean Ryan moved some bodies. That was exciting, man. It was really exciting. So
he's a big boy, and he had his issues his rookie season. We're not going to go over that again, but I think it's important for us to realize that was then, this is now. Here he is. He made it through camp. He had an up and down moments through training camp, but there's a reason why he's still here, and the staff stuck with him. So, we just might get to see a little more of him as time rolls forward here. Is he able to play on the right side too? I'm not sure if he's left guard, right guard. I know he even had a few snaps at center, I think, during preseason or training camp.
That's a great question, man. I'm not sure. I'm very simple in the thought of, for so long, Tim, I'm like, you should be able to put a left tackle at center. I had no clue, right?
Right.
So I think there's a lot more to it. Like David Bakhtiari said, going from left tackle to right tackle, you want to know what it's like. Go to the bathroom and try to wipe with the opposite hand. That's what it's like.
Right.
So same thing hitting a baseball, right?
Yep.
Hitting with your left hand if you're a righty and vice versa. Robert Allen in the chat said Creed had a beer belly, unacceptable in Green Bay. Let's see what else we got here real quick. Dennis Shook did a donation, so maybe we'll treat this like a super chat here. He said, what was our best offensive line group this century? 04 to 05, 2010 to 2011, 2014 to 2015. I know what my answer is. What's yours, Tim? Do you need a minute and want me to answer first, or does anything come to mind there?
Well, obviously 2010 to 11 comes to mind, but I am kind of going back and going with that. So let me think. 2000.
We got to pull it up. I need to know what that offensive line is. You talk for a second.
The 2004 to 2005. I'm trying to think who we still had left.
That's what I'm pulling up right now, my man.
I don't. Let's get that roster, because that might be my pick.
Oh yeah, this is my pick.
Yeah.
This would be my pick. Oh yeah, dude. There's some studs here. All right,
start reading the names. Let's do it.
All right, I was going to try to give you a snapshot here, but yeah, we'll just read it off. Let's go from left to right. You ready for this, Tim?
Let's go.
Left tackle, Chad Clifton.
Yep.
Left guard, Mike Wall.
Yep.
Center, Gray Rugemer. Right guard, this is one of my favorite players all time, man. I became a Packer fan when his career was winding down. He's still so much fun to watch. Right guard, Marco Rivera.
Yes.
Right tackle, Mark Tauscher.
Yep.
So that year, Clifton was 28, Mike Wall was 27, Gray Rugemer was 28, Marco Rivera was 32, and then Mark Tauscher was 27. That would be my pick. And again, 2010, 2011, what I remember about those years, I don't remember us pounding the rock. I know we had James Starks, right? And he did a great job filling in for an injured Ryan Grant. I believe Ryan Grant was still on the roster that year. He got hurt, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
But that was a good offensive line too. 14 and 15, I'm sure, was solid. But 04, 05, I put Mike Wall and his crew up against just about anybody, man. That was a mean bunch, no doubt about it. That was before McCarthy came in too, right? So that was back when they were still running, the big 71U or whatever it was, right? With Kevin Berry and what they call bacon. I love it, man. That's the good old days. But Dennis Shook, thank you for the donation, like we said, but we appreciate you. United Bates in here gifting more memberships. He's getting everybody on that wheel for Sunday, man. Again, guys,
making it rain.
Yeah, just so you know, this Sunday post-game show immediately following the Packers Steelers game, we're going to be spinning the wheel. Anyone who's a YouTube member, you just go to our homepage, click join. You can become a YouTube member there, and I think it's $2.99 for a month. And of course, you can cancel it at any point. But anyone who is a member, when we spin the wheel on, it's got to be by midnight Saturday night, okay? Because that's going to be the cutoff. If you become a YouTube member by midnight Saturday night, we'll put you on the wheel. We're going to spin it, and we're going to give away an autographed Hall of Famer Dave Robinson green Beckett style jersey. Obviously, Dave Robinson was a linebacker for Lombardi's Packers. Awesome human being, awesome guy, awesome Packer. So we're going to be giving away that memorabilia. So there you go, man. Let's see here. He finally got it in. All right. So, oh, no, this is a different question. Look at this. Dennis Shook with the super chat. What's our best O-line group this century? I think that's what he was asking.
Yeah, that was the question.
Yeah, that was it. Okay, cool. So you got the super chat in. You didn't have to do that, Dennis, but we appreciate it, buddy. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Let's see what else we got here. See what Clint said. Clint said Brian Bulaga sounded like he really liked seeing Sean Ryan last Sunday. To the best of my knowledge, Clint, it was only 15 snaps. But I got to be honest, man, when he was in there, he was moving bodies. There's no doubt about it. Let's see here. We got the offensive PFF grade here. Let's see where he's at. Sean Ryan, yeah, just 15 total snaps. PFF grade is 66.4. Pass blocking 75.9. Run blocking 63.9. So, yeah, played pretty solid, Tim. We might have something there, dude. And that's maybe he'll come out of the woodwork and break the third round curse for us, dude. Right. So
that would be nice. And we need help on this line. So I'll take it.
Definitely. And if you create a little bit of depth at guard, just knowing, isn't it wild how Royce Newman started so many games and now he's at the bottom of the depth chart? It's wild, isn't it? Like,
yep.
It's crazy how quick things change. But all right, man. Let's get out of here. I didn't see Jake jump back in with a comment. I was hoping he would respond. It seemed like every time I chat with Jake, I learn something. There's no doubt about it. But, yeah, he hadn't been back in yet, so it's all good. But cool. Let's get out of here. What's been the deal with Ryan? Let's just answer this real quick. Paul Robertson said, what's been the deal with Sean Ryan? Haven't heard anything about him really since he's been here. Sean Ryan tested positive for performance enhancers, so he got suspended. It sounded like he took ownership of it. He didn't try to say, no, I was taking medicine and it popped the faults. What he basically said was, I came in here out of shape. So I think he pretty much acknowledged that, hey, look, I need to do something to get caught up. That's a decision he made. He owned it. So let's hope he turns it around for sure. Let's see. All right. Omar jumps in here from France and says, missed the show. Damn. Hey, that's a beautiful thing about YouTube, man. Just, right on that tab and slide it backwards. I do it with the McAfee show every single day.
Run it back.
Yeah. All right. And a fam said, must have missed the party. Hey, better late than never. Look at that. We got us a new member of the YouTube group, YouTube member of the PTA Posse, Robert Wren. Hey, welcome to the crew, man. Love that profile pic too, man. Awesome shot of Lambo there with you and the lady. We'll get you on that wheel for the autographed Dave Robinson jersey. So
nice.
All right. Let's get out of here. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us. Just want to give a special shout out to all the super chats. Josh Martin, United Bates, Mike Hebring. Let's see who else we got here. Dennis Shook. And like I said, Robert Wren becoming a new member of the YouTube group. Welcome to the crew, man. Really appreciate you guys and gals. Tim, parting thoughts, buddy. What you got? I know tomorrow we got Paul Brettel coming on. So he'll be on tomorrow for the first 20, 30 minutes. Then we'll have the crew jump in here and we'll go from learning a lot about the Packers to acting like fools like we always do. But parting thoughts, Tim.
Yeah, just excited for tomorrow. It's always great when Paul joins the show. Get an injury report, hopefully too, as well. We can dissect that. Nah, man, that's pretty much it, man. Just looking forward to this matchup this weekend, man. Pittsburgh's going to be a big test. Happy to be here. I'm going to catch up on Chalk Talk. I saw you. I was kind of like Omer. I checked my phone finally, and I looked. I'm like, dang, he's been on for like an hour already. And I missed it. And so I just, finished doing what I was doing. But I'm going to go catch up on the Chalk Talk guys and gals out there, make sure you do the same thing. I'm sure it's going to be great as always. Clayton, love when you do the film breakdowns, man. Keep up the good work. So that's my closing thoughts today, man. Thank you for what you do, man. You're in the film room like Matt LaFleur, man.
No, I appreciate it, man. We're trying to learn every day, and it's funny because before it was just I might do one, I might not. Now I feel obligated to do it because there's so many people expecting it. And by that obligation, I'm learning stuff every week. I couldn't tell you, man. And you'll notice too on this Chalk Talk specifically, I'll get halfway through a play and go, I screwed that up. That's not 11, that's 12. Like, that's part of it, man. You know?
Yep.
And again, that's the stuff that I learn as you go back through the tape, right? It's just really cool. And I encourage everyone to do it. You know, don't feel like you got to listen to me do it. You guys are broad enough to do it. You guys probably know more about football than I do. It's just taking the time, sitting down, and having fun with it. And don't let anybody try to convince you to do it any other way than you want to do it. That's the big thing. There's so many people out there that are just trying to compare and dunk on people and point, oh, you got that wrong. You did that. Who cares? Just mute them, block them, move on, right? As long as you're learning and listening to people who have been there, done that, got the T-shirt top thing, that's all that matters for sure. So, again, thanks to everyone in here. Appreciate the kind words. Seemed like it was a good show. Everybody seemed to have a good time. Thanks to everyone in the chat. Like I said, the super chats. Appreciate you guys. For those of you listening on the pod, thank you for making us a part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world, and go Pack Go.
The power sweep. Actually, it's the lead play in our offense.
Come and tackle, take the defensive end. If he's over him, if he's not, you drive down the first man who is inside. Pull back and tell him to take the first man outside the offensive tackle. No one shows. Go right by them and field inside. If the YN has the linebacker taken out, he cuts inside. If the YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. So look at this play. What we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here, and try to run this play in the alley.